Hey all, it's a beautiful day out. So,
I'll shake the car.
I'm reading!
Not reading.
Stop it, Nick! Stop it! Seriously. Stop! I will call the police. He left the bench and walked away, almost ran. He wanted to go back home, but suddenly the idea of returning home appalled him terribly. There in the corner, stop, Nick! Stop! Oh my god, stop! Nick, stop! Someone will call the police.
I'm gonna go home if you don't come with me.
Just let me read my book. Let me read my book.
I'm gonna go home.
Let me read my
I'm
book.
going home.
Nikki! He left the bench and walked away, almost ran. He wanted to go back home, but suddenly the idea of returning home appalled him terribly. There, in his corner, in that terrible cupboard, for more than a month now, all this had been ripening. He walked where his eyes led him. His nervous tremor passed into a kind of feverish shivering. He felt a chill. Even in the intense heat, he remained cold. With some effort, almost unconsciously, by a kind of inner necessity, he began to stare at everything he passed, as though looking desperately for something to distract his attention. But he succeeded badly at this, and in a moment fell to brooding. When he raised his head again with a start, he immediately forgot what he had been thinking about and where he had gone. In this manner he passed across all of Valiskevsky Island, came out at the Little Neva, crossed the bridge, and turned in the direction of the islands. At first the greenery and the freshness pleased his wary eyes, accustomed as they were to the city dust, to the lime, and to the huge houses that hemmed him in and seemed to weigh upon him. Here there was not that closeness, nor the bad smell, nor the saloons. Soon, however, even these new pleasant sensations turned painful and irritating. Sometimes he would pause before some brightly painted summer cottage along the trees. He would look over a fence and peer into the distance at balconies and terraces, at the well-dressed women and the children running about in the garden. He paid special attention to the flowers. At them he looked longest of all. He came across luxurious carriages and men and women on horseback. He followed them with curious eyes and forgot about them even before they disappeared from sight. Once he stopped and counted up his money. He had about 30 kopecks left. 20 to the policeman, 3 to Natasha for the letter. That means I gave around 50 kopecks to the Marmeladovs yesterday, he thought. For some reason, reckoning it all up, but soon forgetting why he had taken his money out. He remembered well passing a restaurant, a tavern of sorts, and feeling hungry. He went in, drank a glass of vodka, and ate some kind of meat pie, which he took out with him to finish on the road. Although he had drunk only a very small glass, it was a long time since he had any vodka, and it went to his head immediately. His feet grew suddenly heavy, and he became very drowsy. Returning home, he got as far as Petrovsky Island and stopped, unable to go on. He left the road, made his way into the bushes, dropped to the grass, and fell instantly sound asleep. In pathological states, dreams are often distinguished by an uncommon vividness and sharpness of focus and by extraordinary conjunction with reality. The scene unfolded may be a monstrous one, and yet the setting and the means of presentation not only probable, but subtly detailed, full of surprises, and at the same time artistically in key with the scene as a whole, so that the dreamer himself, though he were an artist of the caliber of Pushkin or Turgenev, could never have invented them awake. Such dreams, pathological dreams, make powerful impression on a man's disordered, already aroused organism, and are always remembered for a long time. Raskolnikov dreamed a terrible dream. He dreamed of his childhood, in the small town where his family had lived. He was 7, it was a holiday, and he was out for a walk with his father just outside the town. It was getting on toward evening after a dull and sultry day. The neighborhood was very much as he remembered it, though he did not remember it as clearly as he saw it in his dream. The town lay spread before them, exposed, without even a willow around. At some point, very far away, a small wood darkened the rim of the sky. A few steps from the town's last kitchen garden stood a tavern, a big one which, whenever he strolled past it on walks with his father, made the most unpleasant impression on him and even made him feel afraid. It was always so crowded. The people made so much noise. They laughed, they cursed, they sang hoarsely and tunelessly, and so often they brawled. And around the tavern, such sodded and frightening figures were always slouching. He would pull himself closer to his father and tremble. Why is there You guys, there is this fucking this fucking white bitch on the roof of her car doing yoga. I think they're doing like some sort of photo shoot. Bitch, get the fuck off the roof of your car, okay? This is not freaking Ruby Tuesday or whatever that stupid movie's called. This is reality. Sorry. A road led past the tavern, always dusty, the dust always black, winding on into the distance. About 300 steps beyond, it took a bend to the right, skirting the town cemetery. In the middle of the cemetery was a stone church with a green cupola, where he used to go to morning mass twice a year with his father and mother, when a service was held in memory of his grandmother, who had long been dead and whom he had never seen. They always took a special funeral cake with them on a white plate wrapped in a napkin, a sugar and rice cake, with raisins pressed into the rice in the shape of a cross. He loved that church and the old icons in it, icons for the most part without settings, and the old priest whose head quivered. Beside his grandmother's grave, which was marked by a stone, was the small grave of his younger brother, who had died at the age of 6 months, and whom he had never known and could not remember. But he had been told that he had a little brother, and every time he visited the cemetery, respectfully and religiously, he crossed himself over the grave, bowed down, and kissed it. Now he dreamed that he and his father were walking along the road to the cemetery, and they were passing the tavern. He was holding his father's hand and looking fearfully at the tavern. A particular circumstance attracts his attention. Something special seems to be going on, a celebration. There is a crowd of townspeople all dressed up. Peasant women, their husbands, all kinds of riffraff. They are all drunk, all singing songs. Near the front steps of the tavern... Bitch, get the fuck off the roof of your car! Sorry. Near the front steps of the tavern stands a wagon, a strange wagon, though. It is one of those big wagons used to carry boxes or wine barrels, usually drawn by huge dray horses. He always liked watching those huge horses, with their long manes and thick legs, plodding calmly and deliberately on, drawing practically a whole mountain of goods, yet scarcely straining, almost as though it was easier going with a load than without one. Now, though, strangely enough, a small, skinny sorrel mare was hitched to one of those big wagons. This peasant's nag was the kind, and he had seen it often, finds pulling even an ordinary cart difficult if it is piled high with wood or hay, and especially if it gets... Oh, she drove away. Stuck in the mud or in a rut. Every time this happens, peasants beat her painfully, so painfully with whips, right along the muzzle and around the eyes. And he always grieved to be watching this, that he almost wept, and it always ended with his mother leading him away from the window. Suddenly, a noisy din goes up. Hulks of peasants come pouring out of the tavern, shouting, singing balalaikas. My boyfriend's calling me! No, bitch, I'm fucking reading! Okay, I'm on page 54. I'll pick it up.